Do you want to learn how to personalize some of those quilts? Stay tuned. Welcome to Handy Quilter Watch and Learn. I'm Kristina Whitney, and I have a special guest with me today. This is...
I'm Kaye Collins, and I'm one of the national educators.
I'm so excited to have Kaye here with us. She is fabulous, and she is just a blast to be with. So we start laughing a little bit too much sometimes, so just bear with us. We'll try to control ourselves, right? Nah, we'll have fun. Okay, so Kaye is one of our national educators. She travels all over the country, all over the world. Yeah. And teaches events, and you are fantastic.
I have so much fun doing it. Quilters are the best people, and they are just wonderful and warm and giving everywhere we go, so it's so fun.
Yeah, it is a good community.
It really is.
Yep. Okay, well, I'm really excited. We're just gonna jump in.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, so, you're joining a new community, I understand.
Yes. I'm going to be a grandma, and actually we were talking, by the time that this airs, I will be a grandma.
Right.
So yeah, we're expecting a little grandbaby boy.
That's fun.
And you were asking how I'm doing with my quilts. I've already made a few.
It's really fun. I love baby quilts. So I make baby quilts even when there aren't babies coming, because you can always use them to practice a new technique, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
But I have 11 littles who call me Nana.
11?
11.
Now. Okay,
yes.
Tell me the age range.
Oh, so the oldest just started 7th grade, and so they're 12 to 3.
12 to 3.
Yes, we have 4 of them in 1st grade this year.
Wow.
So it's fun when we get all together. It's wild and crazy and a lot of fun. But you know, I've made a lot of baby quilts. So first I just have some tips about baby quilts, and then we can maybe talk about how to personalize them.
Bring it on.
All right, so first of all, I don't make baby quilts tiny. I mean, yes, it's fun to make little tiny quilts, but I want the kids to be dragging those around through the mud puddles and everything until they're 5 or 6 anyways. And you know, that if you just make a 36 by 36, that's great for over a car seat or something, but it's not super usable. So I have this pattern that I've made, and this is actually in the PDF that you can get below, or you can get on my blog. I'll have it up on my blog too, over at OK Quilting. But this is one of the tricks I have. So this one's 45 by 55, and this one's got, yes, it's got a weird big blank hole in the middle, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I do like that size. It seems to be, you know, it works for a little bit older kids. And, you know, when they fall in love with their blankie, they don't want to give it up. So I think size is important.
Can I just throw an idea in? Since I have been working on some baby quilts, if you're using like width of fabric for the backing, you could even just knock off one of these rows and have it 40 by 55.
You could, for sure.
And then just quilt it on the width of fabric.
Yep.
So
you would just need to shift over this centerpiece. You'll have to do some maths if you do that, okay? But you could, you know,
never
it's
mind,
doable.
just ignore me. Just buy bigger fabric.
You can use, this has Minky on the back, and let's talk about that.
Yes.
Kids love Minky, and I love this nubby Minky. A lot of kids will really enjoy that, and I like the texture it gives. And there's a pin in my, I'm a quilter. But I put Minky on probably 85% of the quilts I make. And I usually buy 90 wide, but for this project you can just buy the regular 58-inch wide, and it's going to fit great.
Perfect.
So that's a nice little tip. And so that's a little less expensive too.
Okay, what other tips do you have for baby quilts?
Well, this is clearly simple, right? Mm-hmm. This is just made out of a charms pack, actually 3 charms packs. If baby quilts are too fancy, the parents will just fold it up and put it in the closet, and they will never use it. And you know what, if you're a show quilter and you want to do a fancy quilt for their wall or something, that's great, but that's not me. Let's use these quilts. And I make seasonal quilts for them. They have all sorts of fun quilts, but I want them to use them. So by this being fairly simple looking, it's not intimidating to our non-quilting friends.
Good point.
They really do get intimidated by a lot of piecing. They're like, ooh. And then another thing is that I was pretty careful in my thread choice. So I did quilt this with Omni.
Okay.
First of all, Omni it's a polycore, poly wrapped, so it's got a core of polyester and then it's wrapped, but it looks like cotton. It's not shiny, but it's very strong. This quilt's going to get washed a lot. Yeah. Okay, so you want a strong thread.
Yeah, and that's from Superior Threads.
Yeah, it is from Superior. Yep.
40 weight? Yeah.
It is a 40 weight. And on this one I just used a light gray.
Yeah, I'm looking
and
at your
on this
colors
one
here.
I used actually a cream color because I was like, there is no way I could match all that. So you might be tempted to try to use something like monopoly on such a colorful quilt. But monopoly, if you have a tie off, it's scratchy. Those little tie off ends are scratchy, and children are very sensitive to what things feel like. So just use a soft thread.
Good tip. Okay.
Let's see. And then, but here, my last tip, you're going to love this one. Machine bind it, okay? Because a machine binding is really tough. That's not going to come out. You know, you can take that time to hand bind, but it's actually not necessarily as strong as a machine binding. And really what you need to be thinking about is this is a quilt that's you want it to be used and you want it to last.
Yeah, so it's a functional quilt that needs to have some durability.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Baby quilts are awesome though, aren't they? They're so fun. So what I've done on this one is I've left this weird big rectangle in the middle. So now on this one, it's not quilted at all. What I did was I quilted an edge to edge on this quilt and I left that spot blank. So it's basically stitched in the ditch, and then I would actually do the whole quilt and put it away like that, and even if they tell you the baby's name, don't put it on a quilt until they actually are born and they decide that's actually the name.
Because on the birth certificate.
Right, because I've seen them change.
Yeah. Or they come up with a nickname that they'd rather go by.
Right.
Or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so you're making these ahead of time.
I am.
Okay.
I can make these ahead of time and have them tucked away. And then when the baby comes, I can personalize it that same day and appear to be a queen. When I arrive with the baby blanket that has the actual name on it, they are stunned and impressed.
Yeah. And you could even take this as is, like to a baby shower.
Oh,
before
yeah.
the baby's born.
And show them.
And maybe just put a piece of paper there with name.
That would be fun too.
And then take it back with you. And then when the baby's born, then you can add the name.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this one I just did an edge to edge. So this one is actually the rectangle is quilted on this one. And in some of these techniques you will want to maybe do that, and in some you might want to just leave it blank. So it depends, you know, on how fancy you want to go with this. But I really like this idea. So let's talk about the first way that you could personalize it. So here's what happens is I've just made some nameplates that would go into that spot. So on this one, what I did was I have an underneath design. So it's an edge to edge underneath it. And then I just couched the name using my handwriting. So this is, you know, she's actually got Nana's handwriting on her quilt now.
That is so cool.
And kids love this. This is the Bernat baby blanket yarn, and they love it. They will just sit and play with it. So that's a very easy technique to do. You will need the couching feet.
Yes.
But they come in a set of 3, and for this yarn, you're going to use the largest one.
I am loving that. So that is what you're going to do maybe on this
Right.
particular quilt, where you've already stitched the background and you're just going to put something over top.
Yep, that would work perfectly.
Okay.
And honestly, all you're going to do is, so when the baby comes, you're going to pin this. You can have it bound and everything, and then you can pin it back onto the leaders with the binding and everything, and just do this area and then take it away. So that is technique 1. For our free motion people, this is a great way, because you know you may have free motion that area, and then you can just do your couching.
Can I ask you a question on that one? Did you do any marking ahead of time?
I did.
Okay, how did you do that? Because there's some of us that'll be like, okay, I'm gonna just write this name, and it's like ends up on one side and it doesn't fill the space.
So if you're I do like to do that just to make sure that my spacing is pretty good. So I use the little air erase markers.
Okay.
So you know there are those pens that have the blue on one end and the purple on the other. I think they're from Dritz. I use the purple end because I only need this to be there for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So I write the name and then I couch over it, and within a little while it's gone. And if it doesn't disappear right away, you can always give it a spritz and it will be gone. But yeah, absolutely, marking is, but we don't tell people that we do that. Those are our secrets.
Yes.
So that's one idea that you can do.
Okay.
Now here's another idea. Now some of you have Cricut machines or things like that you might want to use. So I actually cut these letters out on my Cricut, and these are letters. This is text that I actually did in my Cricut designer space and cut them out, and that was very easy process. And then what I did was I used to use a tiny bit of 505 spray.
Okay.
I did not, so this does not have Wonder Under or Heat and Bond, none of those on it. It's just, I cut the letters and I put a tiny amount of 505 spray on them. So I laid them out, and then I just did the 505 on one letter at a time because that seems to dry out. Maybe here in Utah where we have like 7% humidity, but, and then I free motioned around the edge of the letters. Okay, and then I did A, and you have to make sure you remember those inside spots too.
I would forget that.
And you do want to make sure you're far enough in. So if you go off the edge, go back and just make sure you get it, because when it washes, it is going to fray a little bit. And the kids actually like that technique. They like the little frayed edges, and it's another place where they'll probably rub it. So just be aware of that.
That texture.
Yeah. And then what I did on this one was I just free motioned around the letters I just did some stipple, nothing fancy, but I just filled in around the letters to make the letters pop a little bit more.
Okay, so you put the letters on first this time, then did the background.
I did. Now, yeah.
Lots of different ways.
Yes. So mostly, yeah, most of these ways I've left it blank, more like this. Okay. But if you're going to do the couching, then I would go ahead and edge to edge the whole thing.
Perfect. Have you ever tried using the washable school glue sticks?
I have, and that would work too.
Okay.
Yes, that would work too. If you want to use it, and it washes out the very first time you wash it. It's, yeah. Perfect. No, I should probably be an Elmer's like affiliate or something, because I go through so much school glue at my house.
Yep. Just make sure it's the washable.
Right.
Okay, I love these.
And you know, the other thing I didn't mention is that there's kind of a trend these days on having gender neutral colors, and so I've kind of gone with just a lot of colors. Even these peaches, I mean, it might be a little girly, but you could really play. If you put the name in blue, that, you know, that's going to make our generation feel better. Okay, but there's kind of a different trend going on. But this is a great way to be able to personalize. And if you have a cutting machine, why not combine your two hobbies?
Love it. Okay, what else do we have?
All right. So this is another way you could, now this is Pro Stitcher. So we've now jumped from free motion to Pro Stitcher. But these are letters that you can actually buy that are all put together. And so in Pro Stitcher, these ones all have starts and ends that are on the same plane. So you can put them together as an edge to edge by repositioning the start points and the end points. Okay. And just stitch it out. So these are from My PS Patterns.
Okay, so Pro Stitcher patterns.
Yep.
Go to prostitcher.com, My Patterns.
Yep.
And you can purchase
and
this.
Then so what you're going to do is open each letter and then line them up, kind of like an edge to edge. Now, on this one, I could have stretched it out to maybe fill the space a little bit more. But what I did was I found another edge to edge design, and I just did those chevrons. And honestly, I was just too lazy to paint. But you might want to paint it, depending on, what you wanted to do. The paints that I used are actually, what are they called? Luminaire.
Luminaire?
Okay. Lumiere by the Jacquard company. And they have this glittery finish, but they're permanent and they're washable, and so they will hold up to a baby quilt.
Excellent. I have not tried that technique. I'm going to add that to my bucket list.
Yeah, so that's a fun one. I love to paint on quilts. That's one of my things that I like to do. But that's just another fun technique. So here's another technique, but this one uses Pro Stitcher Designer. I have deliberately made this quilt so that this area ends up being 18 by 9. And I did that because our Moxie friends they can stitch 9 inches. We're not having to worry about advancing or anything. So if they're careful with how they put this on, they can do this space in one pass. So this is done in Pro Stitcher Designer. And what I did was, the first thing is I made the letters of his name, and then I kind of bumped them close together, and some of them didn't fit very well, so I just did made some of them a little wonky and turned them a little, and then I welded them together. So now they're all one line, and I did go ahead and do some connections and everything. We're not going to get into all that today.
No. If you have questions, you can go to prostitcher.com
Right.
and look at some of the video tutorials on
Absolutely.
Designer with text.
But then what I did was I put one echo around his name that was, so it's, I think I did, maybe it's not a whole ½ inch, maybe I did 0.3, 0.4 on the echo. And then I put rays in to fill the area. Now, when I put the rays in, I left them big. And yes, I could have cropped this to perfect size in Pro Stitcher Designer. But if I had done that, when I got to my quilt and it was loaded and it was a little ski-wampus, I would have had problems. So what I did was I leave the rays big, and then I can go ahead and crop them out. But that just looks great in a quilt. And you could also, maybe I should, you could make the choice to do the name in a colored thread or something. Whatever you want to do. I didn't choose to do that on this because the texture does show up, but kind of a fun technique.
Ooh, thinking different threads. What about like a 12-weight thread just for the name, and then do the rest of it in a blending thread?
Yeah, there's
Endless
so many
possibilities.
possibilities, really. That can be a lot of fun. Now, for those of you who are a little more advanced in Pro Stitcher Designer, this one can be really fun. So this is Grace. If you can't, it's a little tricky. I'm trying to hold it so that the light catches the texture. Let's see.
Yeah, if you move it around,
I'll just keep moving. There we go. But what I've done on this one is a really heavy fill around the letters. Very similar though. This one's just a script instead of block letters. I joined the letters and connected them and everything so that I could stitch them out. I put an echo around her name, and then I did a really heavy fill. And you know what I'm most proud about on this one? Not one thread break on this. I was like, oh, this is really heavy fill. We could have a thread break.
Yeah.
And it just stitched, it took forever.
I was going to ask how long. And you did the fill freehand?
No.
No?
This is
Okay.
actually Pro Stitcher Designer's fill.
Okay.
Now, I could, honestly, that's my tip for this, is that I would probably in the future do it free motion. So, because free motion, little stipples would be great, but yeah, I would probably do it on my own. But you can do it in Pro Stitcher Designer and have Pro Stitcher stitch it all out, which I think is really fun.
Yeah. So what thread did you use on that?
These are all Omni.
Okay.
I think they're Omni. Yes, I believe they are.
Okay. Even
I
with your
tend to be an
background.
Omni girl. I did that on purpose because I wanted to see how it would look. I was thinking that maybe I should use Micro Quilter, but I think I might have had more breaks using Micro Quilter because it was so jerky. So I thought that maybe a stronger thread would be a good idea.
And what if you use, since you are using a thicker thread, what if you used a color that blended with your quilt?
It would pop.
And then let the name.
Yes.
Oh.
So you could do some fun things. Now,
Sorry.
that's super fun.
You've just inspired
I know,
me. Like,
that's
I've got
the
so
thing,
many
and
ideas.
that's what I'm hoping for here, is to just show some possibilities, because our customers are so creative.
Yes.
They are going to take these ideas and run with them.
Exactly.
So this one's a lot of fun. Okay, now I am just going to be honest that I don't necessarily recommend doing this on a baby quilt, okay, unless it's really going to be a wall hanging, because this is heat transfer vinyl, and of course, because it's purple and glitter. Hello.
That is Kaye. Purple glitter.
So what I did was, I really like to draw in a program called Procreate on my iPad. So I pulled up her name on and I put it in kind of a fancy font, but the font wasn't fancy enough. I wanted it to have these curves. So what I did was I just drew on top of the font. So this is actually my own artwork now, because it's much thicker than the font,
Okay.
and it's got these curves in it that were not in the traditional font. And so I've changed the font into her name, and then I saved it as a JPEG. Then I transferred it into, I used Auto Vectorize in Pro Stitcher Designer and brought it in, and it, just like that, it is vectorized. And then I saved it as an SVG file, and I sent it to my Cricut, and I used my Cricut to cut this out. Now, meantime, while that's cutting, I used that file of her name, and I put an echo around it, and then I put a lot of echoes around it, but I actually deleted her name out. So I did not stitch I didn't stitch the word Eden. I just left that part blank. And so then once everything's stitched out, I was able to iron down the HTV, and it worked great.
Okay, so it's just ironed on, it's not stitched on.
It is not stitched on. Now, I could stitch it on. Honestly, I just don't know how this would hold up to a lot of washes. So this is a fun, this one's more about the personalization and maybe less about on a baby quilt.
Yeah.
Okay, this might be great on a tote bag or something.
So maybe we should throw a challenge out to our viewers to try this process, stitch it down, and wash it a whole bunch of times, and then come back and let us know how it works.
Well, you know what? I will probably go home. I wouldn't feel bad about going home and stitching this one down and washing it and see how things go. I didn't want to do that before we taped, though. But those are just some ideas. And so you've already got the quilt done. It's already bound. You can do that when you have time. And then all you're doing is one of these ideas when the baby's born. And it's personalized, and everybody just thinks that that's really fun and happy. And you can use charms packs. I didn't have to do any cutting. I used charms packs for this.
That is fabulous. Now, you had talked about just putting the quilt back on your frame.
Yes.
So if you've got a frame-mounted machine, you could even use your super clamps and just clamp it in place.
Absolutely.
You don't even have to pin it on because you're only working in a small little area.
Yep.
Oh, game changer.
Just
I'm going to go
quick
home
and easy
and
way.
I'm going to make a stack like this big of baby quilts that are going to be ready to go.
Well, that's the thing is when your kids are of childbearing age, guess what? All their friends are too. Right? And those are the kids who grew up and they came to your house, and you want to do something for them too, but you don't always have time at the moment. And so, you know, sometimes you just want to do some mindless sewing. This is mindless sewing. So the fabric requirements and just some quick instructions, obviously this is not a challenging project. So, you know, on one of those days where you just want to sit down and do something quick and easy, this can be a good project that you tuck away.
Well, I am so excited. You've inspired me. I'm sure you've inspired our viewers. Why don't you, before we go, let our viewers know where they can find you?
Oh, great, thanks. So I am OK Quilting, which is OHKAYE. And I am on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube. I'm everywhere. You can't get away from me. I am TikTok, but I usually forget to post there. It drives my kids crazy that I'm on TikTok. They're like, Mom.
Isn't that our job to embarrass our kids?
It is. That means we're doing it right. Yeah. My grandkids think it's cool, though. So
that's all that matters, right? Because they've got their personalized baby quilts.
That's right. And you know what? My favorite thing about the quilts that I have one granddaughter who is convinced that I put magic in my quilts. I mean, she really is. And I believe that that's really because we put love in every stitch while we're making them, and we think about those people, and I really think that they do kind of have our love in them. So I think baby quilts are just the best to make.
They are great. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been great. For our viewers, thanks for joining us as well, and make sure you like and subscribe. And make sure you also post and use the @HandyQuilter so that we can repost your pictures. Have fun quilting.